So this problem is 2 times d plus 9. And since d plus 9 is in parentheses, we'll have to do d plus 9 first. Now d equals 8, so we'll have to do 8 plus 9, which equals 17. Then we have to do 17 times 2, which equals 34. For this problem, you have to do 10 times e plus 7, which, since e plus 7 is also in parentheses, we'll have to do that first. So e equals 3, so we'll have to do 3 plus 7, equals 10. We'll have to do 10 times 10, which is because of right there, equals 100. So this equation is 4e to the power of 2. And what you have to do is you have to do e, which equals 3, times itself. So the 2 would be the amount of times. So it would be 3 times 3 equals 9. Then you have to times that by 4 because of right here. So that 9 times 4 equals 36. So this problem is e2 minus 4. So what we first have to do is the exponent. So that would be e2. And since e equals 3, we'll have to do 3 times itself, because e times e, or 3, the amount of times up there. So that equals 9. Then, with basic subtraction, 9 minus 4 equals 5. So this equation is 1/2 times c minus 8. Now for this one, we use the this is for distributive property. So we have to distribute the 1/2 to the c and the 8. But all we're doing for this problem is simplifying the equation. So what we do is 1/2 times c would be times c in parentheses. Then we'd minus 1/2 times 8. So that is simplified. So for this equation, we will also be using the distributive property. And one thing that you have to do right away is change that minus sign into a plus sign and make the 7 a -7. So now the equation reads as -3 times 5 plus -7. So what we would do to make it a little easier to understand is we do -3 times 5. And then you can add the plus sign now and do -3 times 7. Well, -7 anyway. So -3 times 5 would be -15. Then we have to add -3 times -7, which equals 21, because the negatives cancel each other out. So -15 plus 21 equals 6. So for this equation, we will have to simplify this problem into the simplest form, or write each expression in simplest form. So this one is -4j minus 1 minus 4j. Oops, I meant that as a j. Plus 6. So what we first do is we make this into a plus sign and this to a negative. And same with this one right here. So now that they're all plus, they're easier to add and to do the problem. So -4j plus -4j equals 8j. negative 8j. Then we have to add up negative 1 plus 6, which is 5. So the answer would be, so the simplest form would be negative 8j plus 5. Okay, so this equation is 9 minus z plus 3 minus 2z. So what we'll have to do is, for starters, to make things a little easier, we'll take the subtraction signs and turn them into plus signs, and then make the z negative z. And same with this one over here, so instead of 3 minus 2z, it'll be 3 plus negative 2z. So, what you do then is 9 plus negative z plus 3 plus negative 2z. So, the simplest form it can be in is the answer. So, negative z plus negative 2z equals negative 3z plus 9 plus 3, which equals 12. So the answer is negative 3z plus 12. So for this equation, we are not adding them together or simplifying the expression, but we are finding the terms, like terms, coefficients, and constants of this expression. So the terms would be negative 3d, 8d, and 2, because those are the numbers or variables in the equations. The like terms would be negative 3d and d. And the like terms are variables, but negative 3d is the exception because it has a variable in the number, so that one is a like term. Then the coefficients would be 3 and 1. How I got 1 is because d is the same as 1d, and so that is the number before the variable. So that would be the coefficient. And then the constants would be 8 and 2, because those are the numbers that do not have any variables in it. So those are the terms, like terms, coefficients, and constants of this expression. So for this equation, what we are doing is finding the simplest form for this expression. So 5x plus 4 plus 9x. So you can't add 5x to 4, but you can add it to 9x. So 5x plus 9x equals 14x. Then 4 has no other number that doesn't have a variable, so that's just 4. So the answer would be 14x plus 4. And that would be in simplest form. So for this problem, all we're doing is adding. So what we can do right away is change this minus sign into a plus sign and change the 10 into a negative 10. Then we can change this subtraction sign into a positive sign and make the 6 negative 6 also. So now we can just add. So negative 10 plus negative 6 is negative 16. Plus, now we have to add the x's. So it's 3x plus x, which equals 4x. So the equation will be, because we cannot simplify it anymore and we cannot add it completely, would be negative 16 plus 4x. But most of the time, people will do it this way, 4x plus negative 16. So for this problem, we are adding 3x minus 7. Oh, negative 3x minus 7 plus 4x plus 7. So what we can do right away is add the negative sign, because I forgot. And then change the subtraction sign into an addition sign and change the 7 to a negative 7. Then it's easy addition from there. So it'd be negative 3x plus 4, which would equal 1x plus negative 7 plus 7 equals 0. So that equals 1x or x. So this problem we have to add. So the first thing we have to do is change 4x minus 7 into 4x plus negative 7. Now we can add negative x plus 5 plus 4x plus negative 7. So negative 6x plus 4x is negative 2x. Then 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. So the answer is negative 2x plus negative 2. So for this equation, we have to add. So we can add just right away negative 4x plus negative 2x equals negative 6x. Then we have to add 3 plus 8, which is 11. So the answer would be negative 6x plus 11. So for this equation, we need to subtract, but in order to make things a little easier, we can add. So the first thing we could do is we change this subtraction into an addition and change the 12 into negative 12. Then we do the other one. So it's instead of 5x minus 7, it's 5x plus negative 7. Then we have the one in the middle. So what we do is we change this to a plus, change the 5 to a negative 5, and the 7 back to 7. Now we can add. 9x plus negative 5x equals 4x plus negative 12 plus 7, which equals negative 5. So the answer is 4x plus negative 5. So for this problem, we have to subtract, but to make things easier, we can do addition. So the first thing we do is we change the subtraction sign into an addition sign and change the 8 to a negative 8. Then we do the same with this other subtraction sign and make the x negative x and the 4 negative 4. Then we add. So 9x plus negative x equals 8x. Then we add negative 8 plus negative 4. And that will get us negative 12. So the answer is 8x plus negative 12. For this one, we need to subtract, but to make things easier, we can add. So the first thing we do is change the subtraction sign to addition sign, change the 1 to a negative 1. Then we change the other subtraction sign in parentheses into an addition sign, change the 7 to a negative 7. Then we change the subtraction sign that is not in the parentheses into an addition sign. And we change the x to negative x and the negative 7 back to 7. Now we can add. Negative 2x plus negative x is negative 3x. Then we add negative 1 plus 7, which is 6. So the answer is negative 3x plus 6. So for this equation, we subtract, but to make things easier, we can do addition. So 8x minus 1, we can change into 8x plus negative 1. Then we can change the subtraction sign that's not in parentheses to an addition sign and change the 8x to negative 8x and the negative 1 back to 1. Now we can add. So negative 8x plus negative 8x is negative 16x. Then we add 1 plus 1, which is 2. So the answer is negative 16x plus 2. So for this problem, we have to find the greatest common factor of 24 and 48m. So here, some common factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and those are all of them. And for 48, some common factors are 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8, and those are the common factors of 24 and 48. But one they have in common is 24. And that's the largest both of them have that are their common factors. So the greatest common factor of 24 and 48 would be 24. So for this problem, we have to factor the expression. So what we do is we find the greatest common factor for both of them. And the only one for 3 is 1 and 3 because that's a prime number. So, and 3 can go into 6. So that would be the greatest common factor of 3x and 6. So what we do is we put x in parentheses plus 2 in parentheses because we divided 6 by 3, which equals 2. And then we do 3 divided by 3, which equals 1. So it would be 1x plus 2. 1 times x plus 2. So for this problem, we have to find the greatest common factor of 40x and 60x. So some common factors of 40x would be 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8, and then some common factors of 60x would be 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. And those are some common factors of 60x. And there's a few that they have in common. The largest one they have in common is 20. So the greatest common factor of 60x and 40x would be 20, and then since they both have x's, it would be 20x. So for this problem, you have to factor the expression 18x plus 6. So the first thing we'd do is we'd find the greatest common factors of 18x and 6. So let's start off with 18x. So a few are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and that's it. For 6, there is 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. And those are all of the greatest common factors. But the biggest one that they each have in common is 6. So what we do is we have 6 on the outside, divide 18 by 6, which would equal 3. So it'd be 3x plus 6 divided by 6, which is 1. So 1. So the answer would be 16 times 3x plus 1.